Joshua Dobbs says the team has to do a better job at finishing drives. Joining us now, as you just heard, the big voiceover guy, Rudy Carpenter, joins us now on the Right to the Guest Line. You can follow him on Twitter at RudyGCarp12. Rudy, as you kind of look at what you saw yesterday regarding the Arizona Cardinals and the quarterback situation, what was your biggest takeaway with Josh?
I mean, I think it's really difficult to judge how he played. I mean, he's only been here for a couple weeks, and, I think anybody that watches football seriously knows that, every quarterback in this league, it's difficult no matter who the quarterback is to play well week in and week out and on a consistent basis. And, of course, it's going to be even harder when, you've only been on a team for about 2 weeks. So you saw some of that with some of the quarterback center exchange issues, maybe some of the turnover issues, but I don't think it was all negative. I think that considering all of that, I think that Josh Dobbs has done some decent things in the game, and I think the Cardinals played better probably than most people thought.
And I think, Rudy, a lot of people don't realize, let's take a look at, Joe Burrow, for example, has not played the entire season, how much he struggled when I call it the live ammo, gets going in real games. I think the speed of the game, whether you're experienced or not, if you haven't been out there in a while, tends to rear its ugly head as far as timing, tempo, completions, and just, I think, playing in fourth gear as opposed to playing in second or third gear in practices or preseason.
Yeah, I think it affected Joe Burrow. I mean, I think it definitely affected Joe Burrow. I think the weather probably affected him more than anything. You saw, Nick Sirianni from the Philadelphia Eagles talk about he wished he probably would have played Jalen Hurts in the preseason too, so he's probably going to make that adjustment next year. For me, I could be wrong, but, all these guys are football players, and in my view, the only way that you get better playing football is playing football. And so, to me, you can't simulate the game speed in practice. You can't simulate the game speed in training sessions. It's just really, really hard to do. The game is so much different when you put on pads and you have to make decisions in that split second. And so I think any time you can give your quarterback a chance to get reps, I think it's very, very valuable.
Rudy Carpenter's our guest on the Right Toyota guest line. Rudy, I'm real curious, you as a former QB in the league, and when you play a team that has 4 pass rushers like the Commanders had, is that something that sticks in the back of your mind that they're coming all the time, or is that not even an issue? I'm just curious because he was running for his life a lot in that game.
Well, for me, it was never an issue because I stood on the sidelines and ate sunflower seeds and watched the starters do that stuff. But, I mean, yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, it's most definitely an issue for these guys. And, I think for anybody who's played at that level understands that, especially in this day and age, you literally spend almost all your practice time. You spend all your walkthrough time. You spend so much of your time just working on pass protection, blitz pickup, pass protection, blitz pickup, pass protection, blitz pickup. And you spend a lot of time, on it. And you do that because of the complicated schemes that these guys play and the complicated blitzes that they bring. Plus, when you look at these pass rushers, for the most part, they're usually, the most physically gifted guys on the field. It's very, very hard to get these guys blocked. And as a quarterback, I mean, it's always on your mind. You want to have a plan versus pressure anytime you get blitz, but when you play guys like Micah Parsons or Aaron Donald or the guys that the Commanders obviously had up front in Sweat and some of the other guys, it's very, very difficult. So you always got to have a plan to get the ball out of your hands.
I also think, Rudy, it was kind of a difficult situation for offensive coordinator Drew Petzing to understand he's got a quarterback knows the system, but to your point, has not played a lot of football the last 3 or 4 weeks. Literally, kind of puts him between a rock and a hard place. How aggressive do I push the ball down the field? Do I keep it simple, stupid? I mean, for Petzing, this is his first game as an OC. And to Jimmy's point, you got a front seven that can be quite the beasts at different times. So I got to think folks got to factor that in there as well, too.
Well, I mean, look, it's very, very difficult. Coaching in the NFL is very hard. Playing in the NFL is very hard. It's even harder when, you only got a guy that's been in your system for a couple of weeks. Even if you had him at another place before, it's still very, very difficult to understand his teammates, to understand, the situation that's going on, to, have a relationship with his center. I mean, there's just so many factors. And I just think if we're being honest, I just don't think right now the Arizona Cardinals are set up for success.
All right, then how do they right the ship, or do you give them a chance to right the ship against a New York Giants team that got blitzed last night by the Cowboys at 40-0? How does this play out now for you?
Oh, well, look, I understand that the Arizona Cardinals players are going to play as hard as they possibly can. They're going to give it their all, so is the coaching staff. But I think at the end of the day, the scouting department, the general manager, the owner of this team has decided that they probably want to try to play for some of the best draft picks that they can get. And to me, that's kind of what it looks like here. But I also think when you listen to Josh Jobs and everybody else, they're probably right. If you want to win, obviously you got to get some stops on defense, but it doesn't really matter what you do. You have to be able to protect the football. You can't turn the football over as much as they are and expect to win games. But again, I still think on both sides of the ball, probably in all three phases, special teams too, I think that there's probably enough good things that they can build off of from this film.
Rudy Carpenter, Rock Minucci, Jimmy B here on Fox Sports 910. Let's turn attention to what we saw on Saturday night in Tempe with Oklahoma State coming in to take care of Arizona State. What are some of your big takeaways as you watch that game?
Just another really weird, kind of disjointed game. But again, I just think this is, what's to be expected from this team this year. You're playing a true freshman quarterback. You got a whole bunch of offensive linemen that are out. You heard Kenny Dillingham talk about after the game that they just couldn't get the run game going. And when you can't get the run game going and then they're dropping 8 guys into coverage and you still can't get the run game going, you're just really, really outnumbered. And I know I've played in some games like that, and it's very, very frustrating. You feel like you can't really protect a 3-man rush. It's hard to throw in the guys who are dropping 8. You still can't run the football. It makes it very, very difficult as a play caller, and it makes it very, very difficult, trying to play quarterback. And when you're a true freshman, it's even harder. And so I just think that this year is going to be just a lot of growing pains for ASU. It just is what it is right now.
And to that point, Rudy, the one thing that kind of sticks out when you watch a team like Oklahoma State come in with a little bigger guys all the way around. The Devil's not quite the size that you'd hope for. Hopefully he'll get that size, and like Kenny had at Oregon, so eventually get there. But to your point, watching Rashada in reference to timing and getting rid of the football, at what point can they try to, with Fresno State coming in, kind of simplify
3 minutes
for him and have success at the same time?
No idea. I honestly have no idea, because once you put it on film, what your weaknesses are, every single team's going to try to exploit it. And when you have a hard time on the offensive line blocking and you got a bunch of guys who are hurt, it is difficult. Other teams smell blood in the water and they're going to come after you. And veteran quarterbacks have a hard time with it, let alone a true freshman who is seeing all of these looks for the very first time. So, the Fresno State team is always a competitive team. It's always a good football team. And, they're 2-0. They didn't play great last week against Eastern Washington, but they beat Purdue the week before, and Purdue got a good win this weekend. So I expect this Fresno State team to be good and ready to play. And they're probably just a little bit ahead of where ASU is right now.
Rudy, in your estimation, then, do you stay with Rashada at quarterback the entire game, or if he comes
2 minutes
out and he struggles in the first half, do you look toward Bourguet or not?
If I'm Kenny Dillingham, I made the decision to start Jalen Rashada, and I'm going to start him the rest of the season. That's my viewpoint. I mean, I believe that, you guys in the media can be told stories, but I'm not going to believe any of these stories. Kenny Dillingham knew exactly what was going to happen to this program when he signed his contract, which is why in his contract it states that if there's anything that happens regarding, any type of punishment, you get contract extension years, which means more money for you. He knew that was exactly what was going to happen, and I think he knew this was going to happen, and I think he calculated all of that, and so this is the perfect time to get Jalen Rashada ready, who we think is going to be our franchise quarterback. This year means nothing for us, unfortunately. It's a freebie year. Let's use it for our young players. Let's use it for Jalen and get him ready. And to me, I think it's the best thing you can possibly do. You don't want to
1 minute, 1 minute.
destroy his confidence, of course. And if it gets to that point, you got to make some decisions, I guess. But to me, the best thing you can do as a coaching staff with a young quarterback is to let him play and play and play and let him make mistakes and play. And no matter what he does, show him that you have confidence in him as a player and that you're building to the future and that you want him to be able to play free and relaxed and not worry about any of the externalities that's going on. And when you made this decision to start him, I think that's what you owe him.
I love it. Great stuff, Rudy, as
Amen.
always, man. Have a great week. Thanks for the time, as always.
All right, guys.
Rudy nailing it as he always does. Rudy Carpenter here on Rock Manuch with Jimmy B. You can follow him on Twitter at RudyGCarp12. Start calling him Coach Carpenter. But he's brought to you today by All City Towing. They continue to grow. They're hiring. Go to allcitytowing.com, search careers. If you're looking for a new